Okay, so I finished up adjusting the green to get the gamma more in line. As you can see on the right here, pretty good. The only part is maybe at 50, it's a little above. Up here it's a little bit, these are negligible, and I'll show you how much in a second it's negligible. But as you can see, I got it pretty darn tight to the recommended or the standards here. So that's really good for my luminance, which adjusts the gamma. And the thing is, it's like, say I got 50 here, I got it right on the dot. Well, that's going to mess up 60. It's going to make this a little bit off, and it's just kind of a back and forth you'll get used to as you go through your controls and get used to your display. But let me show you this, because if you remember, we set auto adjust for this. So if I right click, choose scale, gamma, and change it back to 1-3, 1 to 3. Sorry, my mic is twitching out. I don't know why it does that. But as you can see here, it looks very hard to see that it's off. Like right there's the 50 where it's a tiny bit off. And that is completely negligible. That is not a problem. This is excellent. This is really excellent for a BT1886 gamma on this display. So I have it very tight to the recommended gamma line. We are very, very good. And if I go to gamma itself, the tab, you can see just how clean and tight that is. That's excellent. And again, I only adjusted the green color through all of the levels from the darkest blacks to the brightest whites. I adjusted green only to get that to line up. And so the next thing I want to do is work on the colors, because as you can see, we actually made the delta E worse, which is what we want overall to be the lowest. So we actually made our picture worse technically, and that's because the only thing I've done so far is adjust the gamma. So now we got to adjust the colors, and there's a couple ways to do this. And the way I'm going to do it, because it's quicker and easier in my opinion, is just like I did with the gamma. I'm going to start at 80 and then go to 30 and then to 70 and then to 40 and jump back and forth and go throughout the line like that, just jumping back and forth, trying to get them all onto target. The other option is to look at the entirety of the graph here. Say red. Say you're looking at red and you're like, okay, I can see that red is quite a bit below down here. It's a little bit closer up here, and down here it's quite a bit below again. So you can go through and all at once adjust the red without measuring each one individually. You can say 30 at 30% I want it plus 20, at 80% I want it plus 30, and at 50% I only want it plus 10. And then you adjust it all, and then you remeasure using this measure grayscale button, and you see how close it is, and you keep adjusting that way as an entire unit, so you're not adjusting one individual part at a time like I'm gonna do. And I'm only doing that because it's quicker, but it does have its own inherent problems, which I'm not going to get into, but there's definitely issues with it. But I think it's a lot simpler and it goes a lot quicker. So let me just do a couple of those. I'm going to start with 80. And back on my main screen here, I'm going to choose continuous measurements. It's going to bring up an 80% window. Let me see if we can get a different chart here. I'm just going to go with Rgb levels, just so it's a little easier to see. So I'm looking at 80 here, and I'm looking at the red, green, and blue. I'm never going to touch the green. I don't want to touch green anymore because I set that for gamma, so do not touch the green. So you can adjust visually, and again, you can right-click, choose Scale, choose RGB, and say you want to auto-adjust. That'll get it in so you can see it very big. And so you can adjust visually. Let's do that a little bit. So right now I'm doing an 80% window. I'm looking right here at these three. Again, I'm never going to touch green because I already did that. I'm going to find the one on my phone that corresponds to the 80% controls, which might not be 80%. You'll have to mess with it a little bit and see. And now I can see that red is way below, so I'm going to add a lot of red and see if that makes a change here. Okay, that one didn't affect it, so I got to find that one that does affect it. Oh. It disconnected from my device again. Let me just get back in here. There we go. All right, let me try this again. Add some red. There we go. So I added way too much red, so let me change it to a different number. Okay. So I added 35 points to red. And your system may be different. You just have to see how it goes. And so I'm just trying to get it nice and close to the line. And now I can see that blue is under. Let me try adding some blue. See if this is the one that adjusts it. So there you go. And as you can see, as the blue jumped up, red went down. So they all interact. So you can do it visually this way and mess with it until you get it right. But I think an even better way is to look over here on the left. I'm trying to move my mouse around here. Let me stop this for a second so it doesn't distract you. So over here on the left, we have our RGB levels, and red, green, blue, and a delta error per the overall, which is what we're really concerned about. So if we can get all of these numbers as close to 100% as possible, our delta error will be at as low as possible, and that's where we want to be. And remember, a delta error below 3 is imperceptible to the human eye, so if we can get it below 3, we're good. But with mine, like I said, I can get it below 1, no problem on the whole thing. So that's just something you'll figure out as you go, as you interact. But let me hit play again on continuous measurements. It's going to start taking readings again. So it's saying I need more red. Now I'm just looking over at the percentage numbers and giving it a second for it to catch up and adjust. And again, I'm never going to touch green, but they'll all interact. So by lowering blue, it's going to raise red a little bit. And by lowering red, it's going to raise blue a little bit. And you just got to see how they interact with your display. And here I'm being very nitpicky, and it'll constantly adjust. It's not going to take one perfect reading. It'll always be that. There's always this fluctuation. Just get used to it. It's just the way that the meter readings work. So there we go. Very excellent. Let me stop. So now you can see I'm very close to 100% on all of those, and my delta error is 0.1. And remember, I said below 3, but we're at 0.1. So that's extremely low. And you can see that over here on the right, on this purple line. That's our delta error charted out. And way down here, that's where I just adjusted. And again, we can go scale, delta E, auto adjust if you want to get it. It's not going to change much now because of my high bright white errors, but it will auto adjust and get in tighter so you can see better as you're going. So I like to use auto adjust. Selecting auto adjust here, delta E, auto adjust. So now you can see just where it is. If we can get everything below 3, we're excellent. I'm going to get everything below 1, most likely. So, and as you can see here, very, very excellent. So the next thing I'm going to do is go to 30%, hit continuous measure, and then do the same thing. I'm going to look over here and say that, okay, red is really low. I'm going to bump red, bump blue, not touch green. By bumping red and blue, it'll lower the green. They'll all even out. So remember, just don't touch green and get this delta error as low as you possibly can. So I'm going to do that to this whole scale, and then I'll be right back.